Welcome to ABC Interactive English. I'm Matt.
Hello, everybody. I am Shane, and today we are looking at part 2 of the Town Mouse and the Country Mouse. So let me ask you, Matt, what kind of area did you grow up in?
What?
Town, city, the country, the suburbs. Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in the suburbs of a city.
Okay.
So it's like a place next to the city where people mostly just live and maybe they work in the city.
Right.
So it's suburb as suburban, so less than urban, not like a city.
Yeah, it's a little bit below a city. Yeah, I also grew up in the suburbs of Los Angeles. And Los Angeles is a very big city that most people have probably heard of. But I did have cousins who lived out in the country.
Okay.
And I always loved to go visit them during summer vacation because it was such a different way of life out there. They had a very big property, they had a farm, they had animals, they had a lake.
Wow.
And there wasn't like the worry of like the traffic, so you could be playing like football or ball in the street and cars will never really be coming by. It was just always so exciting to go there because it was just very wide open and there were so many things to explore.
Yeah,
really cool.
The country's a nice place to visit because you have more freedom as a kid, I think.
To
do things. Your parents aren't as worried about the dangers of the big city.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to see more about the town mouse and the country mouse after this short break.
Okay.
Come with me and I'll show you the good life. You won't want to leave after that, the town mouse said. The country mouse agreed, and the two mice set off for the town. The mice arrived late at night and went to a big fancy house. The town mouse lived there, and he invited his cousin inside. He took his cousin to the grand dining room.
Hi everyone, we are looking at part 2 of this story, The Town Mouse and the Country Mouse. So last time in part 1, we learned that the town mouse had gone to the home of the country mouse and the country mouse welcomed him. He was happy to have his cousin visit him. And so he offered him some food, which was things like bacon, cheese, beans, bread.
Yeah.
But the town mouse turned his nose up at this food and said that he didn't like it because you turn your nose up, it's not good enough for him.
Right.
And he said that, how can you put up with this food? But he thinks you can't expect any better food in the country.
In the country, that's right. Okay, so continuing the story, he then says, come with me and I'll show you the good life. So now the town mouse is going to show the country mouse what it's like if you go to the town. He's going to show him the good life. When you say the good life, just means that you have a life that has lots of luxuries, lots of nice things, and usually it's the opposite of being like poor, which he might consider his country cousin to be a little bit poor. So he's going to show him the good life. You won't want to leave after that, the town mouse said. So he's going to want to stay because he's going to get all this luxury and all of this wonderful, he's going to live the good life.
Right. And the life's going to be so good that he's not going to want to go back home.
That's right. So we have a vocabulary word, show, which is a verb. It just means to let somebody see something. right? So he's going to show him the good life. Another example, you could say, you have to show your ticket to go into the museum. So that's the word show.
The country mouse agreed, and the two mice set off for the town. So the country mouse said, yes, let's go see the town. He agreed to go with his cousin. And then they set off.
Set off.
So to set off means to leave to go somewhere else or to depart for somewhere else.
You could also say take off.
Take off, you could also say. That's right.
We left. They left for the town.
Left for the town.
Right.
The mice arrived late at night and went to a big fancy house.
Oh, a big fancy house. I like this word fancy.
Okay.
What does it mean? Fancy.
Fancy means it's not normal, it's not simple, it's got extra things that make it special or make it impressive, make you say, wow, that's fancy.
That's fancy. That's right. So if you saw somebody, for example, and they walked in and their shirt maybe had a lot of sparkles on it, or it was like, wow, what a fancy shirt. Or if you go to a dinner that's very expensive and they have a very nice decoration and maybe some candlelight, and they have the kind of towels that are made from cloth, you can say, wow. And also, it's expensive.
Yeah.
You say, wow, this is a fancy restaurant.
That's right. Often when things are fancy, they are also expensive.
Right. Okay, so continuing, the town mouse lived there, and he invited his cousin inside. Okay, so he lives in this nice house. He took his cousin to the grand dining room. Okay, so inside is an adverb. It just means on or to the inside of something. So, for example, you could say, we had to move inside when it started to rain. So the opposite of inside is outside. So you have in and out. Okay.
Okay, so they went to the grand dining room. So grand means large, impressive. It also should be a bit fancy again. Has extra things. It's not a simple place. It's usually we talk of a place being grand. We mean it's very big and something that makes you say like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, right. And it's interesting that you call your father's father the grandfather, because it's something also that you should kind of respect because that it has, you know, that it's so big and so impressive, right? And they're going to go into a grand dining room. So that's just, a dining room is just a room in a house where you dine, or in other words, where you eat meals, right? So a dining room could be in a home, or it could even be in a hotel, something like that. And that is where you eat meals, basically.
Where you dine or where you eat.
Where you dine, yeah. So to dine is just another word for to eat, but dining is a little bit more fancy. Right?
Right. All right, well, we're going to take a short break, but we'll be back with more of the story after this.
Great.
There, the mice found food from a big fancy dinner. They dug in and enjoyed cakes, jellies, and other fine food.
Welcome back. Before the break, we learned that the town mouse had now invited the country mouse to come with him to the town. And he said that once you come to the town, you are not going to want to go back to the country.
Yeah, because the country, the town mouse just thinks the country is just too low class for him.
Right. So they arrived at a very fancy house, which was where the town mouse lives.
Nice.
And they went inside the house and into a grand dining room.
Ooh, okay, so let's continue the story. There, the mice found food from a big fancy dinner. Wow, okay, so it's a big fancy dinner. They dug in and enjoyed cakes, jellies, and other fine food. Okay, so to dig in is used to tell somebody to start to eat. To dig in just means to start eating, right? So they dug into these cakes, jellies. Jellies are not something we normally eat these days. So I think the story's a little bit old, right?
Right. So a jelly is just something made with gelatin. So you might think there's something that's clear, you can see through it or almost see through it.
Yeah, and it wobbles.
And it wobbles when you shake it or when you touch it.
Yeah.
And yet, in a long time, well, not that long ago, but maybe 50, 60 years ago, people would commonly eat jellies, which could be sweet or not sweet.
Right.
And you might even put meat inside this jelly and have many of them at a fancy dinner. So I think, yeah, like my grandma, I think, would eat jellies sometimes. And sometimes she would even make them.
Would she make like a meat jelly, that kind?
I think she has before made a meat jelly, but I don't think I ate any of it because it's not something I want to eat. We could also think of a jelly these days as being like a candy, a small candy made with jelly. We would also call a jelly.
Right, and a common candy that's made from jelly is jelly beans, right?
Jelly beans.
We eat jelly beans and
I also think gummy bears.
Gummy bears
also say are jellies.
Are made with gelatin, right? And so we're talking about fine food. Now, fine just means excellent or much better than average. So when we say fine food or fine dining, again, it's kind of like that word fancy, where you get this idea that things are a little bit expensive, right?
It's interesting. We also use the word fine to just mean like it's okay.
Yeah,
so
that's
when
weird.
Someone asks, "How are you?" and you say, "I'm fine," that means you're okay. Not too good, not too bad. But when this adjective goes before a noun, usually it means fancy, like fine dining, fine foods.
Right, yeah. But if you're talking about your mood and you say, "I'm fine," maybe a long time ago, it did mean that you were doing excellent. But these days, fine, if you say, "I'm fine," just means, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have for part 2, but we still have part 3.
That's right, and we'll see you then.
Okay.
Come with me, and I'll show you the good life. You won't want to leave after that, the town mouse said. The country mouse agreed, and the 2 mice set off for the town. The mice arrived late at night and went to a big fancy house. The town mouse lived there, and he invited his cousin inside. He took his cousin to the grand dining room. There, the mice found food from a big fancy dinner. They dug in and enjoyed cakes, jellies, and other fine food.
Hello, I'm Tina. 我们来看这一课的重点单字。第一个 show 动词，给谁看，展示。Ben showed us his new painting. Ben 给我们看他的新画作。下一个单字 inside 副词，到里面，在里面。Please wait inside. 请在里面等候。下一个单字 dining room 饭厅。I always have dinner with my family in the dining room. 我总会在饭厅跟家人吃晚餐。最后一个单字 fine Fine 形容词，优秀的，极好的。Zoe did a fine job on the project. Zoe 在这个专案上做得很出色。接着我们来看重点文法。第一个 set off 出发启程，这是一个不可以分开的动词片语，后面要用 for 来接地点，表示出发前往某地。set 的三态同形，我们来看看这个例句。Ethan set off for the airport at noon. Ethan 中午就出发去机场了。下一个文法 at night 在晚上，这是一个固定用法。那要表达在深夜，可以说 late at night。相对说法就是 early at night。我们来看看这个例句。Peter likes to take a walk in the park at night. Peter 喜欢夜晚在公园散步。最后一个文法 dig in 开动，开始吃，这是一个口语用法。dig 的三态是 dig, duck, duck。我们来看看这个例句。The dinner looks delicious. Let's dig in. 晚餐看起来很美味，我们开动吧。以上就是这一课的重点单字跟文法，回去记得复习哦。我们下一课再见，拜拜。
Hey, it's Kiwi on the street. I'm Kiki.
And I'm Winnie. And today we're reading Mary Poppins. And there's a really hard word, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Wow, you're really good at pronouncing that word.
That's because I practice.
Looks like we should do some pronunciation today. All right, let's work on some pronunciations. Okay, can you read this for me?
Okay, water is very important in the desert. Water is very important in the desert.
Water is very important in the desert.
Very good, nice. Desert. That's a good catch.
But what about this one?
Don't eat too much dessert.
Don't eat too much dessert.
Don't eat too much dessert.
Dessert. Yes.
Good.
Don't eat too much dessert. Okay, what did we learn today?
Let's work on today's pronunciations. We have two very similarly spelt words, desert and dessert. At really quick glance, it looks like the same word, but they mean totally different things. So our first sentence is, water is very important in the desert. We will notice that our emphasis goes downwards. So desert. And you'll notice that the S kind of makes a Z sound. Water is very important in the desert. Next, we have don't eat too much dessert. Here, our emphasis goes up. Dessert. Don't eat too much dessert. The SS also makes a Z sound, but it also changes our emphasis. So we have desert, and now don't eat too much dessert. That's all we have for today. Kiwi later.